Squeeze.
Hi! Welcome to DnDTime Talks, the show where we discuss all things Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Pete.
I'm Jeremy.
That was
Pete, how are
Data
you?
that you saw run up in the background. Jeremy.
Wait, Data's here. Oh, he's being good. He's up in his. Let me just. I can't. Why are you up there? I'm sorry, Pete. How are you?
I'm doing good. I got my most stylish bow tie on today, which is my white on white.
You're most stylish.
Yeah, this is the most stylish look. That solid, just all white.
Dang.
Yeah, dude,
You're a styling man, Pete.
Yeah, I'm ready to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and specifically today, as you have perhaps guessed by looking at today's topic, we're going to be keeping things pretty loosey-goosey. We're going to be talking about our new show that we did the Session 0 for just a few days ago on Sunday, where we built a world and characters for that, and are going to be running a little campaign in it. It was a lot of fun, but we're going to be talking about basically how it... I see you have the data. Yeah, you got the data cam up now. We're going to be talking about how it went, what we thought of it, and just basically how we feel about the direction of the campaign, what went well, what maybe didn't go well. So I think it's going to be fun. Jeremy, how are you, by the way? I know you were adjusting and getting your data situation set up, but how are you doing?
It's been like it's been a stressful couple weeks. Work's been stressful, life's been, everything's been stressful. But you know what? My huge project with work is over, and I have a good feeling about the next couple weeks. I hope to God.
I hope so as well.
I'm optimistic, Pete. That's the answer. I'm optimistic.
That's good. I'm going into a scary period of trying to prep a campaign for Saturday.
What campaign's that?
Or for Sunday. Oh, the one we're going to be talking about today. But before we talk about it, before we talk about it, as always, actually not as always, doubly so today.
Yeah, more than always.
Yeah, extra always. We're probably. Do you want to just cut out Ask Pete and Jeremy today?
Yeah, I think what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be answering your questions. Yeah. So as we kind of go along, if you have questions you'd like us to answer in like a little more depth than we usually do for Ask Pete and Jeremy, we're looking for more serious kinds of questions here. It can be our thoughts on something if you want, or if you are having trouble with something in your Dungeons and Dragons games, talk to us. Feel free to ask for advice, for our opinions on things, for whatever, and we'll give you like real good thought out responses. We'll take some time and really talk about it.
We'll think about it, and we'll answer them on the stream as best we can. And normally we would do that at the end of the stream with quick little questions, but we'll probably skip that segment today because we'll just be taking them as they come. Also, if you would normally be, we'll at least look and see if there's anything on there for us to answer. But
of course. So type right in the chat if you want us to answer any of your questions. Also, hello to Ein's Bloodfallen. Hello, Ein's.
Welcome back. Good to see you again.
We got Halo Dude hanging out, Maddie Morgs, and I'm sure I know there are more of you working in the chat. So hello to you all as well, you sneaky people. And talking of sneaky people, Pete, let's talk about the campaign. Let's talk about that Session 0.
Yes. So to talk a little bit just about what the campaign that we're running is, we started a new show. It's called DnDTime Tales, because we wrapped up our last campaign that Jeremy ran, Waterdeep Dragon Heist. It's still on YouTube if you ever want to watch it. It was a delight. But we wanted to start a new campaign, and we wanted to do it in kind of a homebrew setting. And a thing that I've been doing for a while in some of my home games is I just go in, I build the world with the players during session 0. We figure out what it is that we're going to be doing, and then we build all the characters right there and just start playing a campaign that's built around specifically what the players want to play and what they want to do as characters. And that's what we did for DnDTime Tales on Sunday with, I think, a lot of success.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And before we go any further, Adrian P. just subscribed at Tier 1. They've been subscribed for 17 months. An eternity. He says, "Saw, dude." Saw to you as well.
Thank you very much, of course.
Thank you.
And hello, I see Max has popped by too. So Max, like we were just saying, we're going to be doing Q&A. So if you have questions, put them in the chat. But yeah, like we were saying, we did kind of a mega session 0, which I'll be real, I've never taken it like that. I don't think I've taken it to that point before. Like I've done some collaborative world building stuff in session 0s, but that was like a very, like you came in with a lot of little tiny little threads, but not anything.
Yeah, I came in with,
at all.
Yeah, I came in with nothing. I actually, I had no opinions on what I wanted us to do going in, other than like actually, I had a couple of very small opinions, which was I didn't want to do a heist in a city, because we literally just did that. I didn't want to do like a Waterdeep Dragon heist, and I didn't want to do anything too high level because we're juggling a lot of new stuff. So those were kind of my. I also didn't want to do anything really goofy because we do Pete and Jeremy's D&D time.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we kind of got close to that heist in the city, assassination in the city, which I'm wondering, did you try and like, as we went through it, guide and influence us as we kind of stumbled through the process, or did you just kind of let it go free?
I would say that I'm more.
If you guided, it was super subtle.
No, I would say I more kind of let it go free. I didn't want to, I was leaning away from, like I said, the kind of like doing stuff in the city vibes, because I didn't want to like do too much of exactly what we just did. But I felt like, if we had started to go down the paths of, and what if we were all thieves? I'd have been like, okay, maybe we back off from that. But I think because one of the things we decided right away, and I think that set a lot of the decisions moving forward, was you that recommended, assassins initially, and everyone seemed to really latch onto and really like that idea.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of the times, right, when players are first starting a campaign, at least when I'm first starting a campaign, if I have a strong premise for the campaign, or if I want to describe the setting that I'm going to run a campaign in, one of the first things I tell players is do not come into this with a character concept, please. You can come in with like mechanical ideas that interest you, personality ideas, but don't build a total character and then come into it. And I kind of came into that with a character very much in mind, and I'm not sure if that was like obviously completely counter to my own words there, but I'm wondering, like, do you think that was a detriment to the process, or do you think that actually kind of worked in that collaborative?
I think that either one of those things would have been fine. I think that it was good for the process. I think if you hadn't have done that, it would have been a different world that we came up with, because you wouldn't have had that, like, I kind of want to play an assassin vibe, but it's still probably, I think whatever we came up with still would have been very cool.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. Now, Pete, what if you had a world already preset? Do you think that would have been a detriment, me coming in with like a definitive concept?
That's a tougher one. I guess it would very much depend on the world. One of the things we also decided about our world early on that I was kind of excited to go in this direction, because I think not just like me as a dungeon master, but we as a play group, all of us who play on DnDTime Tales, myself, Jeremy, Crowley, James, and Kyle, we played a lot of D&D together over the years, and we don't really do like a darker tone campaign. We don't do a lot of like grittier stuff. And we decided early that it was going to be that kind of dark tone. So if we were playing in a world that was going to be dark and you had made like an assassin-y character, I don't think that would have been a detriment. But if
that's fair, if we hadn't gone down that dark path,
yeah, that might have been more problematic.
Oh my God! Speaking of it, I found something out over the weekend: the Black Hand, because I realized I should probably check out and make sure, because we decided that was our adventuring company, or like our arm of the empire. I wanted to make sure that wasn't like super racist.
That's a very good idea.
I never thought of it, and then I went and looked it up. And apparently, they were a Serbian nationalist group back in the early 1900s that orchestrated the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, launching World War I. Yeah, they were literally a group that launched assassins.
Archduke Franz Ferdinand is one of the only names I remember from high school history.
It's the only name that you like strongly consider like with assassination.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Shockingly, very close to what we're doing in the game. We
That's
stumbled
true.
upon this, and we had no idea about this. But it's funny that we've just stumbled into this political, historical allegory.
HaloDude73 asks, is there going to be a lumberjack of sorts? I don't know if I fully get your question.
Oh, well, Morath is their character. They're from D&D.
Oh,
they're
yes,
a
of
lumberjack,
course.
and they lumberjack people if they need to. I think we're going to be lumberjacking some. We're going to be lumberjacks of sorts. Yeah.
I think they are going to be lumberjacks of sorts.
Lumber focused game. Lots of killing people.
Cordons of wood, I would say.
Yeah, so much wood. The cordons of wood will flow through the streets or something.
So, Jeremy, I'm also curious, because you came in with a pretty steady character concept, you were saying. Is what you ended up picking and what you're doing, because I saw you kind of like changing and moving around a little bit. Is that actually what you started out as?
Well, it's funny because you started out the campaign with asking us each to decide one thing about our character.
Yeah.
And the thing that defined my character was the thing that I picked was my character hates a god, and he hates a specific god. I didn't know what god it was at the time. And with the original like concept for the character that like I had come into the game with, oh yeah, I knew if you were going Forgotten Realms, I knew the analog god to go with.
Mm-hmm.
And as we kind of developed and the city evolved more and we learned more about this Church of Wind and Sound and this kind of divine walking being in the Erdon, the Earthbinder, that is the ruler of the Iron Empire. You know,
cool. Such a cool name. The Earthbinder,
so
I think, was James's. That's just a good one.
Good, just out of the ether. Boom, brilliant name.
Yeah.
But with that character, you know, I never thought of this character that I was going to play being really religious. I kind of actually imagined them still praying to that god they hate in like a very, very angry sort of way. Like, I'm going to fucking kill your followers. Go ahead and stop me. But I don't know that the deificness, that's not the right word. I guess the way that we elevated the emperor to a divine status, like that definitely took it in a very different direction than I anticipated.
You ended up on a little bit of a different like race class sort of thing too, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, I definitely did. Well, when I think of this character, I try and like when I come up with a character, a lot of the times my choices are influenced by mechanics, and this is a really thing that a lot of people demonize in Dungeons and Dragons as like, oh, you picked a character for mechanics. Yeah, and I built a really fucking awesome, flushed out, rich character that also uses those mechanics
that has rad mechanics
that would be fun to play, that I will enjoy engaging with. So anyway, I was focused on mechanics, and I had, I think, 4 different variants of this character. The Ranger was one that just kind of came up, you know, on the fly out of in that session. But I had a Whispers Bard variant, which I couldn't do. I had a Sorcerer variant that was Divine Soul Sorcerer if they were more of that other religious bent. I had the Wizard variant if we went to level 14, 13? I don't remember. A high level. And yeah, I had a bunch of different like ways that I could build it to come to the same conclusion. Because in the end, for this character, it wouldn't matter if I was a wizard or if I was a ranger or if I was a whatever. That's not what I'm playing with. I'm not defining the character by a class. I'm defining a character by who they are and their
archetype to a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly. They're an assassin that uses magic to help with their assassination. And that's just what I went with. I just think, you know, you don't have to go one-to-one archetype to class. And I think a lot of people also kind of miss that boat. They get too focused on, well, I'm a barbarian. So
I'm a mad boy. I'm a mad lad.
Exactly. So I have raid. Yeah. And yeah, raid. I don't know. You can take that in different directions that aren't just I'm a crazy naked savage who's very angry and swings my big weapon at people. You know, you could take that in a more nuanced direction.
Which is fun too.
A blast.
Like,
Don't want to shit on that because that's amazing. probably the most fun experience if you're new to 5e.
Yeah,
Play a barbarian.
it's such a
and
great way to start playing D&D. Is
there's a reason it's the first class. Alphabetically, it's alphabetically the first. Earthbinder was Farfel saying it.
Yeah, Farfel in chat was saying that Earthbinder was his idea. I'm sorry, I did not properly credit you. And you're also saying the only idea you came in with was that you wanted to play one of your less played classes. Yes, Farfel 13 or Crowley, who's in the campaign there, ended up going with Druid, and which you are not aware of this, but I know now. We were talking about it at the time. Has switched over to Kenku, and I'm excited to see you play a Kenku.
You know, I've tried to play a rogue so many times in 5e. The first campaign in 5e I tried to play a rogue, and was disappointed. Or actually, I tried to go with rogue warlock back when neither was particularly okay at melee, especially if you cross-class, and that went really bad. And then I tried to play a rogue vaguely recently in one of a campaign that Farfel had been running off and on, and that went poorly. I haven't enjoyed rogue, but I feel like the times I haven't enjoyed rogue is because I was doing it wrong. I wasn't focusing enough, and I think I'm gonna enjoy this because I've given myself extra tools outside of rogue to do more.
And I think I also think the rogue, because you're the assassin, right?
Oh yeah, yes, I'm the assassin.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, you're gonna get to do that in this campaign, and that's one of the cool things I like about what we did here, which is that, you know, I'm gonna be building the campaign around sort of the mechanics. So I feel like assassin rogue specifically don't really have that much opportunity to use their cool core feature because
which is assassin. I disagree. I think that entirely is a misconception. I think that you absolutely could use their core feature a lot more. I think it's just players don't take the initiative to go out and scout with their rogue. You know, they go out, they scout, then they go back and get their party, then they all sneak up. And so when they all sneak up, well,
the paladin doesn't sneak because they know they're going to get a 3.
Exactly, and it all goes wrong. What should happen is you sneak up, and you're scouting ahead. You assassinate them and run away. One thing is dead, and then you come back, and then you're being chased by dire wolves as your party is like, "What's going on?"
That feels very
seriously though.
Very Han Solo running down the hallway to me.
Right. Can you think of a better stereotypical rogue?
Yeah, I mean Han Solo is the quintessential
rogue.
Yep. But I think before we go any further, it might be worthwhile for anyone who maybe didn't see the who didn't see the thing on this past Sunday to like talk a little bit about basically what our campaign is, because we've alluded to a lot of things, but I don't think we have like explained it.
I was gonna, and diadems. First of all, hello. But
hi, diadems.
It's not all paladins that don't try to sneak. Some of them just have 8 dexterities and wear plate armor, and so they can try. But yeah,
James is mimsy. James is mimsy.
Or they have 5 dexterities
and wore full armor. He was never going to pass a stealth roll.
The only overweight character in any Dungeons and Dragons apparently ever is that 5 dexterity paladin.
He was a hero though. He knew he wasn't getting out. He was too slow, so he just fell on the enemy. It was good.
So anyway, let's talk a little bit about what we did, right? Because we've been just kind of blabbing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it, Pete. Take it away.
So we began. Do you want to go through the whole like process that we did, or do you want to like just talk about what we ended up with?
I think we can just kind of touch on it from time to time, because I think we can talk about what went of the steps that we took, what worked and maybe what didn't work, and why you tried to go in one direction, and if that was like a good direction to go, or if maybe in retrospect we would have gone in a slightly different one.
Yeah. All right, yeah, sure. So to give a rough overview, I kind of had broken up the world building process into a few core steps. At the very beginning, I asked everyone to just arbitrarily decide one fact about their characters before we did anything as like a fun icebreaker in a sense. And I think that was fun and that worked well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really I think that would have almost gone better if like we had too much time to think about it. I think some people had too much time to think.
Yeah, there's
But at the same time, I'm glad Kyle didn't just pick I can't read again.
Yeah, I mean the one that he picked too was very I mean there's just so much
What did he go
to
with?
play with. He went with I don't like it when I hear voices. I don't like people trying to speak to me telepathically.
Yeah.
He's basically afraid of telepathy.
Well, that's awesome, right? Because
yeah,
that's
there's
going
so
to
much
heavily influence how we communicate now. We can't, that's out of the picture. No sending spells, no earrings of silent communication bullshit. No.
And that's
actually I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's fun. Also, it's just the minute a player says they don't want their characters afraid of something, as a DM, you should be being okay. Well, that's going to be in there somewhere.
Yeah, all right, this is happening at some point.
Yeah.
See,
so that was fun.
As a dungeon master, you write that fear
down. And everyone had a kind of a small detail that they came up with. They were all fun, and that's kind of where we started. And then we went into a round where I talked to you guys a little bit about the some classic session zero stuff, like what direction are you guys wanting to go? Do you want to go like, combat versus RP? Do you want to go, what levels are we going to play? That kind of stuff, just general game mechanics-y stuff. I don't know if there's anything worth that you would want to talk about in that zone.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just briefly touch on like those kinds of questions, figuring out the level of combat versus RP versus exploration, which we didn't talk a lot about exploration, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of discovering cool locations within this city.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it's just like, this alley looks particularly sick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that could be really neat.
And I feel like, for me as a dungeon master, the reason I think I probably didn't bring it up is that I feel like just exploration is always good.
Yeah.
You just kind of want it.
You can't not have it.
Yeah, it's
like,
just so core.
You subconsciously make things for people to discover as a DM when you're DMing. You don't just. Yeah. Anyway, I'm with you on that. But I think those were actually really, really meaningful, and I think that went really well. I don't think I would have changed a damn thing on that first little
and very, very necessary, I think. And then the last kind of chunk of that, which was kind of transitioning from meta to more, world building areas, which was tone. And that's where we really started to kind of, pick a direction where we decided that we wanted to play something a little bit darker.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree.
Yeah. And then we went into a section where I had a bunch of like different aspects of world building that I wanted to have people kind of go through and basically say which one like appeals to you more as a player, or which one maybe, I think day to day I could go one way or the other, but just which one, says anything to you right now. And there was a bunch of those. We talked about like what I would call a world that is lawful versus a world that is chaotic. We talked about, world alignment. We talked about things that you expect to see when anyone's building a world, civilization level things like, how much like kingdoms versus city states. There's a lot of like kind of more nuanced world building questions, very broad strokesy kind of stuff that we went through next. And I know, Jeremy, that you were definitely a little impatient, I think, at this point when we were doing this.
Well, impatient's probably the right word. I mean, impatient might be the right word. I felt lost a little bit.
Yeah. I
wasn't sure what we were really communicating. Like we were trying to build something without a direction to build, and that's my only criticism. I think the next step, like phase that we went after, would have been a lot, at least in terms of guiding the discussion. I think that would have been more helpful to have early.
We talked about this a bit afterwards, and I kind of told you my thought process on it.
I say that now, so you share it here.
Yeah, and that was that I really wanted to just have some things that we decided about the world without really understanding what the world was, because I thought that was like a better way to generate something creative and something new, because we weren't necessarily building for the archetype that we were going for. And I think some of like the discussion of like assassinations and assassins and stuff kind of bled into that, and you guys definitely made some choices that were in that direction, because that was starting to like buzz around in people's heads. But originally the idea is it would just be kind of a blank slate, have these like frameworks, and then after we have like a more of a concept, see like, oh well, how would assassins work in this weird world where assassinations doesn't really like scream assassinations to you?
Yeah, no, I follow that. My personal thoughts on it, and I think there is definitely merit to the direction you took it. But obviously there's a big downside. If someone does come in with a strong idea, it bleeds. It taints the water a little bit.
Yeah, that's definitely
that
true.
Process. But I really liked the thing you did next, which is you had a big grid of words.
Yeah.
And that are kind of conceptual things like natives or clans or
there's some that were, I think I just had the word rock on there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then more like grandiose things like love or war or some very like hemmed in ones.
Shame.
Actually.
Yeah, a lot of cool evocative terms that would be central themes to the game.
Yes.
Gritty was one that we a couple people picked for this.
Yeah. Gritty was one that was picked on. And
I loved that.
Yeah, I thought that
was
went
super helpful.
I thought that went cool. Maybe next time I would switch it up and see how it goes the other way, trying that first and then building those choices around it. But definitely, yeah, go ahead.
No, you first. Finish your thought. I'm bad at interrupting. I'm bad about interrupting people.
No, it's all good, my brother. I was saying that, yeah, maybe next time you might want to switch them up, because I definitely see what you're saying about how if people are like starting to push in a direction, it kind of like muddies that just random generation of like, oh, just what appeals to you? What do you just feel in the moment? What do you think about these ideas? And then trying to like building block it backwards. And that definitely isn't quite as effective if you're trying to weight it in a direction towards an idea ultimately.
Well, and I think that's also like how people think, right?
Yeah.
Some people take their pile of Legos, start putting things together, and discover something. Other people like to have a couple of concepts and then figure out, well, how am I going to do that?
Yeah,
okay, I'm
going to build a
spaceship out of these Legos. Exactly. How am I going to build this spaceship? Or how am I going to build that house? Or whatever. And I think for me, I'm very much a second person. I'm a problem solver. That's just how my brain naturally likes to figure things out. What's an interesting and creative way or engaging, unique way of doing X? And so for me, if I'd gotten that list of, what we come up with, like 8 or 9, 10 different words that would be evocative and key factors to our world, to me, having those and then figuring out how they're interesting and evocative and part of the world just makes more sense. That's just me personally.
A thing that I was originally going to do that I just decided in the moment, I didn't want to, was I had you all pick 3 of those words from the list. Originally, I was going to afterwards have all of you eliminate one from the list, as just like narrow it down a little bit more. And I'm glad I didn't do that, because at the time I was just thinking like, I think that's just going to feel bad. Like, what if one person gets all their stuff eliminated? Well,
that's really important, especially in such an early development phase, right? You want it to be as collaborative as possible.
Yeah, so I was worried about people, just having something that they thought was cool and would be good in the world, then just someone else like, let's not get that in there. So I decided not to go that kind of like negative vibe.
I totally agree. Avoid even we've played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons together, you, me, and those guys. Played a lot of D&D.
Oh yeah.
And even then, you can still hurt someone's feelings, even if you're really close with them and you're really good friends. You joke around, you make jabs at you, but you can bother someone just if you do that. Like, oh, I don't really like gritty. Maybe that's like what Kyle was super feeling, for example. I don't think Kyle even picked gritty, but like I think in that Kyle's hypothetical case, gritty. Whatever. If that's something someone was really feeling, I'm like, oh, all right, we're just you give the players that they're already not on the same page, and that's not a great way to start the game. But yeah, I think it was a good idea to skip that. I'm glad you did.
Yeah. And that goes into the core thing is I think building a game in this way, there's nothing. I mean, I learned this a little bit from you, Jeremy, in that first, the Crucible that you ran. But, building characters as a group and, building like a shared history and kind of a world together, that's one of the best possible things you can do for character investment, like especially early on.
Absolutely. 100%. The one thing we didn't do enough of in this game, I think, or in this session 0, because I guess this kind of ties toward the end, right, where we had our character concepts figured out, because that was our last stage, right, is once we figured out the world and we figured out the important pivotal descriptors and facets to it, we figured out our characters. Yes. I don't think we talked enough about how our characters really knew each other. We gave all our characters a really, really strong tie-in to the Empire in some way or another. And for actually, I think every single one of us, except for James, it's actually a negative tie-in.
Which I'll say this about.
Very interesting.
I agree that I think at the time it might have been cool to do that.
Well, I'm just not sure. I'm interested to see how that plays out, right?
I will say in my planning now, you guys kind of not being necessarily in particularly close and not necessarily knowing a lot about each other is something that I've really started to build into how I wanted to run the campaign. And I'm actually kind of excited about that in some ways. So I think that's going to end up being cool in some places. And also, I mean,
the only concept we came together with, right, in the end was that we're all super into the Empire and that we've done this kind of thing before on a much smaller scale. So I think we have some familiarity at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys you're co-workers and you work in the, you work for the Black Hand, you're like an assassination.
We work in the same building. We see, hey, how's it going? Morning.
It's Ghost around the water cooler. There he is, just standing again.
Just staring coldly into oblivion.
So to talk a little bit more about the world that we made, because we kind of went through the process, we ended up creating a world that I think it's very cool.
So cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. We had this concept of assassins, and some of the words that came in were gritty. We got a lot of words that involved politics and basically city dealings and things like that. Economics was one. Journalism was one that James picked because that was going to be something that he wanted to be central to his character. And the other kind of 2 words that we got were wind and sound, as 2 just arbitrary things to play with. So we started off by deciding on, well, you guys are going to be assassins because we talked about that a lot, and it's probably going to be assassins on a political scale. So we ended up making an empire that they all worked for, and you guys are kind of the bad guys. You're the oppressors, trying to put down, political dissidents from other cities to keep the empire under control and quelled.
I was going to say, we also could have gone in the opposite direction, where we were somehow doing, even if we were bad people, the good guys killing the emperor. But I'm glad we went in this direction, where we get to just be evil.
Yeah.
We're just bad.
And I think another thing about that is we kind of decided that the world is a little bit more on the darker side anyway. So being bad in a world, you're not necessarily going to be killing, the people that you're killing are probably not perfect individuals by any means. I mean, maybe they are, and we'll have to see how that goes. But there's also something I think more satisfying as a player if you're doing evil things, but you're also doing them to at least somewhat evil people.
All right, yeah, I guess.
Do you I feel like it's more satisfying to even as an evil character to assassinate the corrupt ward, the corrupt lord, than say the charity running priest.
That's a good question. I'm not sure I agree with you. I think if I'm playing it, depends on the evil character I'm playing, right? If I'm an evil character who's just neutral evil, right? which is, you know, I'll kill people, but I don't like love killing people. I just do it. I don't really care
It's
one
a
way or the
job,
other.
yeah.
You know,
There's money in it.
then obviously, you know, I'll agree with you, I think. Because the character isn't evil in the sense that they derive any sort of pleasure from it, I guess you could say. Right? They don't get any satisfaction out of it necessarily. And whereas a more lawful evil character, maybe a character that is dedicated to the art of assassination, right, will definitely get a lot more out of killing that warlord, by way more out of that warlord, because that's a much harder target. And I think it really depends on the kind of character. And if you're just a fucking psychopath, and your character's just bizarre, maybe you're gonna enjoy killing that priest.
I mean, I definitely makes sense to me from a character perspective. Me as a player, I think I just sometimes.
I get very in character. I think in the character.
Yeah, me as a player, like if I play video games and stuff, I like sometimes just can't bring myself to do like the evil, like the evil routes if there's like choices. In like Fable and stuff, I remember one time I was trying to get evil points to get a particular door to open up for me so I could get a cool sword, and I went in and slaughtered a village for no reason, and I just felt so bad for like days afterwards.
I just slaughtered a village like for no reason.
Yeah, I felt really bad for like days because I needed to get the devil horns so I could go in the door and get a cool axe of like death and evil.
I'm with you though. I think usually I also gravitate toward good characters.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I'm so excited, because I played an evil character I think once, like a really evil character, and that was a very like an interesting experience, right? Like it was weird. It was kind of unsettling, but it was also interesting to explore that space in a setting like Dungeons and Dragons where literally no one is harmed.
That's true. I mean, that is the place to do it.
But video games just, I don't know. If you're evil in a video game, you're just like unabashedly evil. It's like you're an unredeemable bastard who kills people. You're chaotic evil, right? Like that. It's a video game character. I feel, because all the stories are like, you're the hero of, you've just randomly slaughtered that village, but everyone still loves you.
Yeah,
not just the men, but the women and the children too. Exactly, Haley. Dude, I was Anakin Skywalker. Dude.
I was too. It was no good. But Jeremy, do you want to talk a little bit about the city we made too?
Yeah. Okay, so
this is the other defining thing. Yeah,
we didn't come up with a name for it, which bothers me a little bit. I'd love to have a name, but that's okay. So it's the city of wind and sound. And we took those two concepts, wind, sound, and actually there was a kind of third concept, which was food and drink, which I picked almost as a joke, which is awesome. I love when people take a concept as a joke and it becomes a rich part of it. And so that food and drink extrapolated to, along with the politics, to nobility and their grand feasts and things. But the city of wind and sound is a coastal city. We took sound as a dual meaning, as both audio, you can hear it,
and just a sound,
and a sound like Puget Sound or something like that. Not cove, bay-ish water thing. And so coastal city, we decided there was tons of wind all the time. It's a defining aspect of the city, that there's very powerful winds. And so that wind was an important part of the town. So there's we ended up having gliders and kind of Da Vinci punk-esque mechanical wonders as part of the world, derived from just the word wind that we decided was a core facet. The architecture is very tall, lots of holes through buildings and things for wind to flow through. So it's lots of arches, and it reaches up very high, very decorative.
Lots of whistling from the wind. Yeah, exactly.
So that all tied into it. The alarm system of the city, which is the chime, or not the chimes, but almost like the organ-like chimes, actually, that would be placed along the towers that surround the outside of the walls of the city. And we built a lot into this. We tied the nobility into that sound as how they kind of validate their, because in order to be the wealthy ruling elite, you got to do bad things. That's just a fact of reality, and that's something that we tied into the game, and that they turn that sound into something beautiful and through music, right? Normally through like chimes or whatever you end up, or whistles or what have you. And that they in that way kind of validated their more darker side by, no, we're creating beauty, right? Patrons of the arts. So we extrapolated a whole lot of stuff out of this.
Yeah, very a very
the words wind and sound.
Yeah, very rich location, and partly because Kyle picked two very evocative words there that had a lot that you can kind of think about. I mean, also I love that we ended up with this kind of wind versus earth, this kind of steady law versus unbounded freedom. Like there's such a very real like theming to it that came out very naturally that I was so into.
Now, Pete.
Yes.
What I loved about the circumstance when we were building that city is, it just kind of came out. It just started rolling out, and one thing, inspired someone to say another thing, inspired someone to say another thing. I don't think even once we said no during that entire process. There was not a single, well, no. There was not a no, but there was just a yes, yes, yes. And that, I think, is so healthy in those collaborative world buildings. Even if there's not something that you're super into, how can you turn that into something that you're super into, right?
Exactly. And I mean, I'm sure there's things that I don't want to say to never say no to an idea, because I'm sure there's things that people could have said that would have completely been I just feel like it doesn't go with the tone. Like if someone in the group had arbitrarily said, yes, and there's a giant fluffy bunny rabbit that runs the streets and gives out candy to children and speaks and is a god. There's a certain point where I think a line would be well, maybe that's not quite it, but if you can as much as possible, I think spread the positive energy and
Matty Morgan is a great con in the chat, play a kobold. One of the things that Crowley said with his character Farfel was saying that there are no kobolds. That was the core facet of his character. He's not a kobold.
He is not a kobold.
There are not kobolds, which sure, it's a joke right at the beginning. And yeah, I mean, obviously, no one tried to take something we had already established and overturn it out of nowhere.
Yeah, for sure.
So the only thing that was, I think, the most contentious was the religion, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you were going to say the level at the beginning.
Oh, no. I'm talking about of the city building, world building process there. And I think that's just because no one else was invested in it but my character. Because I feel like it's not important to anyone else's character but my character.
I feel like the religion aspects of the Erdon are at least important to James's character to an extent.
And we were all in on that because we all were very tied into the Empire. But
I think I see what you're saying a little bit. There was also, I feel like we were getting a little bit more hung up on ideas. It just wasn't coming to us as quickly with building out the sound.
And I think that's a great thing, right? Because what we started doing is we started building out the Church of Wind and Sound, and we came up with this base. The people on the ground level worship the wind. And we asked the question, well, why do they worship the wind? What exactly do they worship? And we kind of started well, I guess it could be this, I guess it could be that. And eventually we came to an idea. Oh, it's like a spirit that actually manifests sometimes or whatever. And what's awesome about that is it doesn't matter. Because we as a group, in talking about it, decided it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that we know what this thing, what is the wind, how, what exactly they worship. They worship the spirit of freedom that is the wind. What is it? Who cares? That doesn't matter. And that became really apparent as we tried to force it. So that's something actually we probably could have just avoided or, not tried as hard to figure out, I think. In retrospect,
Yeah, I agree. then that's definitely a learning moment, I think, for us, even as a group. Just like if something isn't, and that's like a classic rule, I think, of improv in a lot of ways. And this was an exercise in improv for certain, in just, you know, that free flow creativity that we're kind of going with. And that rule is, you know, don't get hung up on something that doesn't work, just throw it out and try something different. And that's not to say like destroy and not do the church, but just to recognize like,
Yeah,
you know,
just the detail past that is not relevant to the central theme of our game.
Yeah. So that's definitely, I think, something that we would keep in mind moving forward if we find ourselves in that situation doing this again. Because I have no doubt also that we will do this again.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I see Maddie Morris was talking about Woo Woo the Kobold. Maddie, you know, I never ended up playing Woo Woo. That campaign fell through, and I'm real sad. I loved Woo Woo. But Woo Woo he goes back to the annals of characters unplayed. Maybe someday.
Woo Woo got to come out for a little while
in Dragon Heist.
In Dragon Heist, yeah.
I made him a criminal, which I was really unsure about. Anyway.
Yeah, you can go to YouTube and watch Waterdeep Dragon Heist.
And you can see the tales of the armless kobold. Yeah, what else? I mean,
the last thing was character creation.
Oh, yeah.
And, well, Jeremy, you already had a kind of a concept, but I feel like this is the aspect of our discussion that was the most like pretty much every other session 0, which is to say people were just thinking about the world and deciding on things that inspired them and making characters built around it. Also with the core concept that you guys are like, it's definitely, I like making a character when they like, you know that your party is going to be doing assassinations, so make a character that like fits into that. Because I feel like that actually doesn't happen that often in world building.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, in session 0s.
And you can do that really easily for these short form adventures where you know there is going to be a central theme. A lot of dungeon masters, especially new dungeon masters, try to jump right in for a long form campaign. They don't do a session 0, and everyone just makes characters, and they've all watched Critical Role, so they're trying to make super deep, rich characters, and it's just a no one has any idea what's going on. It's a disaster. But I really would recommend that more dungeon masters take a session, first take a session 0 and then do a short form. Do a 6 to 8 session plan game. And, maybe it'll roll over into 12 sessions because you're new. That's cool. Or even because you're just new to short form games. And that's fine. But I feel like it'd be super helpful to have that kind of direction, especially for newer players.
Yeah, also as a newer DM, I feel like there would be so much value. And I wish that when I started DMing, I had someone tell me this, which is you should just run a short plan for the whole campaign to be quick. Because it's so hard to finish a campaign, and I promise you, if like you're an early DM, you will feel so good about finishing a campaign if you're able to get through one. Like my first campaign completely fizzled out.
Like most campaigns.
Yep.
Not even most first campaigns, just most campaigns.
Yeah, most campaigns in general. Like I would have, and that was like definitely a little bit disheartening too, like the first time you DM, and then like people just kind of like, oh, I can't make it today, and like things aren't going that great, and you just kind of like, it just campaigns
bad
all the time, and that's, I feel like, definitely bad for confidence as a DM too. So like setting a small goal, like 7 or 8 sessions.
As a new DM, you're gonna fuck stuff up.
Yeah.
You're gonna make an encounter that's too hard and kill a player, and you're gonna feel bad about it. Whether or not you should is a whole nother topic, but that's gonna happen. You're going to accidentally kill an NPC that the character's like out of nowhere, and they're just going to be like, okay, all right, this is fun, I guess. And they're not going to get it. The character's going to kill a pivotal NPC, and you're not going to know what to do about it because they were core to your plot. Things like that will happen in your first games. And so, planning around a beginning and an end and a relatively short way to get there, super good confidence booster. Because at least that will go right. And at the end, dude, no one's going to care. Everyone's going to be just stoked that campaign was awesome. We did the thing. Wow, we did it.
We beat the dragon.
And they're going to forget all the bad things that happened. And you're going to be like, oh, I guess those bad things really weren't that bad. And they're going to be like, wait, what bad things? And you're going to be like, well, you were all upset about this. And be like, oh, yeah, but like, that's okay.
Can I just share a brief anecdote?
Yeah, please.
This is something that happened to me recently. I was running a one-shot with some of my friends, and it was going on kind of late. And everyone was starting to get kind of tired, and we were talking about like, oh, maybe we'll just make it into a two-shot, we'll pick it up later. And I was kind of thinking over in my mind, and I was like, nah, we're never gonna get together again. And I was like, had a whole bunch of dungeon left. I was like, no, let's finish it tonight. You guys are almost at the end. And I just destroyed the whole dungeon, cut out all the nuance I had planned, and just took
right to the end.
I took this guy right here. When they walked into the next room, I just slapped it onto the table and yelled, "It's a dragon!" And everyone was like, "Oh, cool, the boss!" And then they fought it and they won, and everyone had a great time, and everyone remembers the time that they fought a big dragon, and it was not great, elaborate storytelling. But it was fun.
Dungeons and goddamn
and everyone
dragons.
remembered, like, we finished playing Dungeons and Dragons that day, and everyone had a great time.
Yeah. Absolutely. 10 out of 10 would destroy your carefully plotted dungeon to do this again.
Yeah, every single time. Every single time.
I was trying to think of any other like main takeaways. I actually have one question for you. It's not a takeaway.
Oh, please.
So Pete.
Yes.
Of the group that we have a shadow monk with okay stats. We have a College of Whispers bard with godlike stats.
Oh, his stats.
We have a moon druid, which it doesn't matter what your stats are, and we have a assassin with pretty damn good stats.
You've got some good stats.
But beyond that, we have 3 characters that are playing normal classes, and 1 character that's cross-classing and is pretty optimized to do one thing, and that is Alpha Strike. So I'm wondering, how is that going to influence your planning for this game? That one of the characters is really, really optimized to do one thing, and one thing really well.
I'm trying to let me think about how I can answer this without telling you what I'm actually planning for the campaign.
Of course. Is this like something we'll have to see because you have thought about it? Have you been thinking about that, is I guess the question.
I'm trying to, because I don't think it's a spoiler to say that I plan on setting up things for people for you to assassinate, and like assassination's an important part of the campaign. I've been trying to think about ways where, like you see in heist movies, for example, people are doing different things related to their areas of expertise. Yeah. I've been trying to think about how to do that in this campaign.
I think that's a really great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to make things so strong that the point of, I'll just be frank, with my character, that Alpha Strike assassination never happens. And you also don't want to make it so fragile that I just dominate everything.
And then every encounter ends. Yeah. So it's definitely going to be a needle, because there's 2, I think, in what that would be, what I just described, there's 2 kind of ways that could go, which is 1, it's cool and it works, or 2, everyone just feels kind of disjointed and it ends up not really feeling like an ongoing game and like running 4 different one-shots, basically. So finding a way to blend those 2 things is where the trick will be, and I'll see how it goes. I don't know whether or not I'll even be able to do it successfully in a way that is fun, but I hope I can.
I agree. Now, Pete, as a last wrap-up question, if you had...
I actually also have a wrap-up question, so...
Oh, okay. If it wasn't the kind of campaign it is, right? Where we all came together, collaboratively built the setting and the premise, and then our character, went the whole 9 yards. But if this were, you had created a concept for your campaign, you knew how you wanted to run it, you know what you wanted to do, and we had a normal session 0 where you explain the setting and explain, what's going on and the basic premise for the characters to start putting stuff together. or the background rather. And then one of the characters came up with this very optimized character as opposed to 3 other characters which didn't really optimize. How would you have handled that? Would you have just, is that the kind of thing where you would have felt okay going to that player who made a really optimized character and saying, hey, you've made a really, really optimized character for this that might be a problem for the other players? Or do you not feel that that's a deal? Is it always the DM's responsibility to deal with that? Or can the DM say no?
Personally, I would almost never, I don't want to say always because there's only a Sith deals and absolutes, but I wouldn't ever like to tell a player who made an optimized character and who was really excited about that to not do the thing that they're doing, because I think that's I think it feels really bad to make something sick and then have the DM be like, you're too good. I need you to dumb down your mechanics a little bit. So the way I would probably deal with that most times is not address it honestly, and then find ways, if that player is shining too much, not to nerf them, but to bolster the other players and give them more room to run.
There you go. And you can do that through magic items is a great way.
That's the thing, is magic items is the trick.
I would tend to agree. I think the only exception to that would be if we had 2 characters that were very similar.
Yeah, so that's a big difference.
If another character were playing a rogue or a ranger, then maybe it would be a different story where, okay, that would be something to address. It's more exacerbated on spellcasters, where if someone's a very optimized divination wizard versus I'm going to play a dragon sorcerer or wild magic sorcerer, right? Or something that isn't super well optimized. That might be the kind of deal where as a DM, at least I'd probably talk to both those players and be like, hey, there could be an issue here.
Yeah, that's a really good point about having characters that it feels bad if
everyone needs their spot to shine.
There's one character that's better at another character at everything.
It's everything you can do, I can do better.
Yeah, exactly.
You're basically just more spell slots for me.
And I had a wrap-up question as well, Jeremy, which is, this type of world building, since it's something you never do, I don't think it's something that I don't think this is a common thing by any means. Would you recommend this to, who would you recommend this to, if anyone, other than our group who's played together a long time?
I would recommend this to just about anyone, to be perfectly honest. I think that, that table of words that we had, I think that table alone and that process that we went through with those words, even if you just started there, is incredible. And you did it in the order you wanted, specifically to prevent those words from influencing our direction of the story. And that's just to make an interesting world.
Yeah,
I think it's totally fine if you want to make a world that's super cliche or super focused for Assassinations 2.
Oh, for sure.
We didn't want to do that here just because we're running a show. We want it to be different and kind of out of the box a little bit. And I think we did that.
Yeah, definitely a lot of unique things in this world.
Yeah, but there's absolutely no reason with your players really wanting to explore build a really not cliche but fitting world to what they're doing. If they decide early on we want to be pirates, and you can start building a world that pirates will fucking love, you can build that together. There's a lot of the times the DM, you find yourself wondering, what can I do to make this player happy? God damn, if they literally tell you, oh my God, it'd be so cool if we had this enemy pirate lord, but he's a ghost. And you're like, oh, really? You think that's cool, huh? All right, what's his name?
Wow,
Captain Pete.
I was gonna say a captain named too, but Coast Captain Pete's too good of a name. I can't beat it.
Good.
Yep. Also, I'll say this: people have been helping me out with that on Facebook. We have a group message where we plan things, and I've been getting notes from people oh, well, my character, I think James was basically like, oh, my character runs a newspaper called this, and I was like, thank you so much. That now I know that I should be preparing a newspaper.
Which is awesome. I'm very excited for this.
I've come up with a Wind City printing press.
Oh.
Very excited about it. Anyway.
I gotta actually, fuck. I said I'd have one last question.
Please.
So you've been talking with people in between the session.
Yeah.
How many people have shared stuff with you so far? Has everyone shared things with you so far? And how much of that is additional world building and not just character background? It's probably
everything is mostly character background. I think yours is the exception. Yours was the most like world building heavy.
Oh, really? Okay.
In some places, but for the most part, just character background, and only you and Kyle so far.
Okay.
And
so James just shared about the.
Well, James had that, but that was in public, so that's why I was saying that was different. He shared that with everyone, but with just me, there's been, and that's also something. Well, that's logistics that I'll just talk to you about later. I was about to get completely distracted there.
But yeah, all right. I think that's a pretty good wrap on that session 0. I thought we were gonna have a lot less to say and a lot more questions to answer, but
we had a lot
of questions to answer. So
not
far.
a lot of
Apparently had a lot.
Yeah.
Is there anything in Ask Pete and Jeremy to answer this evening?
Let me take a look real quick. No, it doesn't look like it. Wait.
There definitely is.
Okay, no, these are new. Yep.
Okay. So, let me. Where is it?
So we've got a couple questions here.
Where's that?
From the Greener Gray, it looks like.
Wait. Okay, go ahead. I've lost Ask Pete and Jeremy.
At what level would you throw magic automaton silver-toothed T-Rexes at the party, asking for a friend? His name is Xanderel.
Well, are you okay? Let's talk about dinosaurs in Dungeons and Dragons. You hate them.
Me? Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna put a caveat because Jeremy, I don't know if you noticed, I did put dinosaurs on my list. I'm fine with dinosaurs if you've really worked to incorporate them into your world.
Okay. You don't just like shoehorning them in.
Like, I don't have a problem with Schult. I don't like it when I'm walking through and I see a direwolf and then all of a sudden there's a stegosaurus.
Very well. Can't argue there.
Yeah. And also, I mean, they're a little funky, but
magic automaton silver-toothed T-Rex.
But 5. Level 5 is the level.
Well, it's plural. There are multiple.
Yeah.
Holy Jesus. Are automaton Pete? Are automaton T-Rexes worse than regular T-Rexes or stronger?
I was picturing nature as being greater than nurture, and
okay.
The automaton T-Rexes were small and almost T-Rex shaped, but raptor-like.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think mechanical velociraptor-like T-Rexes, that's the strat. And you throw a couple of them at level 5, and maybe they're challenge rating 5 or 6.
5, yeah.
Yeah, and they're pretty scary. They're terrifying. And they're one of those enemies that as the players level up and they keep running into these automaton T-Rexes, they start to, like, be able to kick their ass, and they feel really good about it. And then you give the mega automaton T-Rex, which is challenge rating 14, and they get scared.
It has
like,
why did they build a metal
beam? Mother? Anyway, I love it.
Would a halfling fit in a kangaroo's pouch? Probably not.
I love this question, actually.
Well, in the reality, though, I think it's no.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
In Dungeons and Dragons, I mean, of course the answer is yes.
Google, how about you teach me, how large is a kangaroo's pouch? And Pete, because you know so much about halflings, how large are halflings?
3 to 4 feet. That range. And kangaroos, I think, are like 4 or so feet tall. Like a very tall halfling is, I think, around 4.
Okay, so I can't find the size of a kangaroo's pouch, but I can find the size of the the Joey. No, that is unhelpful.
And while you're looking that up, Halo Dude asks, "But why can't the Stegosauruses live with dire wolves?" I mean, I can definitely see the BuzzFeed article about all of these cute pictures of this baby direwolf and this full-grown Stegosaurus, like, becoming best friends, but it just don't make no sense. But I do want to see art of it.
Well, it's just where you're putting the area, right? If you're like out in the middle of the forest and there are just randomly dinosaurs for no reason, I think that's what Pete's.
Yeah,
Suddenly dinosaurs is what bothers me.
yeah. I'm more into dinosaurs.
Oh, you know what? You're drawing it now. Hell yeah!
I can't wait to see it.
Dire wolves riding dinosaurs. Or worse, dinosaurs on chariots pulled by dire wolves.
They're all bad.
And actually, I disagree. Both those are excellent. What
Well,
the
I mean,
Gray
yeah.
was getting at with the kangaroo's pouch and the halfling is beast companions. I would love to do a brew where we homebrew some cool beast companions with unique abilities like that. Some low-level beasts that have some unique special synergies.
Jeremy, are you saying like the dire ape with its long and powerful arms?
No, I mean that's just a giant ape.
No, but
I'm talking about beast master. Like
Jeremy,
things like you can take as your beast companion.
Do you know my reference, right?
I know your
Okay,
reference.
good. Don't scare
Got
me
that
like
fastball special.
Yeah, the fastball special. Anyway, yes, that would be fun, and I agree. Oh, man, Jeremy, someday you gotta let me have a giant eagle. You gotta let me have a giant eagle beast companion, even though it's against the rules, and play a halfling.
You see, and that's what I'm getting at, right? Because you can do that as you can get the pteranodon.
Yeah, but I don't want that even a little bit.
And we can call it a big hawk.
No, I want a giant eagle. I want the real thing.
You want the real thing?
I want the real CR1 giant eagle. I don't think it's that overpowered. You can nerf the fly speed a little bit if you want.
God damn it, Pete. We'll talk about this another time.
This is irrelevant.
But for now, I think
we'll answer this one last question.
Oh.
Which is in chat right now. How would you make a puzzle dungeon using water?
This is great. I love it.
So much to start thinking about here. I mean, I think the two core mechanics are using water to turn like equipments and different pieces at different points to like function in the dungeon, and the other one's like using like draining and filling water out of areas to like change how they act. Like I could picture filling a room with water to like get to a high up passage.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that.
I like the idea of having to like drain a room of water because maybe the floor is a giant like piston like pressure system. So as you drain the water out, that floor rises and it opens a passage somewhere else. I think that's a really cool concept, or rather the ceiling kind of goes down as the water drains out. And I like the idea of maybe the players having to do a couple of different things at the same time. One of them has to drain that area. Another one, but you can't drain it all the way because that would be bad or something. Maybe like the last little bit can't drain or it will close the exit you need. So one player ready to replug the drain, one player going and interacting with some other mechanic somewhere else. And you just get your players to split up a little bit, but still be kind of close to each other. And then the water that's draining into the first room has water elementals. That's how you really fuck with it.
Oh, that's a classic
You
one.
force them to split up to do this puzzle, and then the water's in it.
Yeah.
I would love that. That sounds perfect to me.
One of the best. I actually ran an underwater puzzle dungeon once.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. Mimon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My best water puzzle was I made a room with a clue that said "Surrender yourself to the royal," which had a whole context, but don't worry about that. And there was a big waterfall in the middle, and they had to like interpret that riddle that they should just go into it, even though it was very intimidating looking because everything else except it was very scary.
Yeah. Also having water-filled chambers, the players have to get up. When it's an open chamber, it's like, oh, we can just fly, or we can use magic and get up. When they got to swim up there, that's a very different story. The players don't have magic that can cheat swimming.
Yeah,
right?
except for
Especially
Dimension Door.
And you just say, oh yeah, it's murky water. And then it's like, all right, well, shit. What, do I just Dimension Door out into something I have no idea where I'm going? Someone might, but they're dumb to do it.
And as a final piece of advice on the subject, play every Zelda game. They all have a water-based puzzle dungeon. There's probably a lot of legitimately good ideas in there.
Magnetism is a puzzle. See, that's great, right? They gotta drain some of the water to get the magnet to come down to lift the bigger magnet or something, right? You can do some really cool stuff with that. I'm into it.
Yeah. And with that, I think we are now officially done. Jeremy, do we got any? What are our shows? Do we have other content?
No. Actually, yes, we do.
No, you tricked me.
And Jeremy's D&D Time. It is 3 one-hour adventures featuring you, our viewers. It's a lot of fun. We love it. Great. You should tune in or sign up to play on our website, DnDTime.stream. The website's all updated. It's really pretty and nice. I also updated the lore document a little bit today, so it works a lot better on your mobile device if you use a mobile device to access the website. It doesn't look horrific anymore. And the sign-ups are now officially fixed, so sign up to play if you want to play. Yeah. What else? On Sundays, we do DnDTime Tales. Next 6 to 8 weeks, which is what we were talking about today. So if anything was even remotely interesting to you, which, I mean, I hope it was.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I don't understand how you wouldn't be like, well, that sounds like a pretty cool setting. But, or at least the setting. Come check it out. Starts at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern every Sunday. It's going to be great.
We summarized a lot of it here, but if you're interested in watching the Session Zero and being up to date on all the things we decided,
absolutely,
there will be there's a VOD, so you can watch it.
Absolutely. And while these takeaways are great, I would really recommend watching the process. Especially if you're a dungeon master, if you ever plan on running a campaign, I would recommend watching that, because I think that was a very good example of a Session Zero running about as damn well perfectly as you can. And it was probably the most complicated Session Zero you could have gone for. So
and if you want my list of words, let me know.
Bada boom. That's a wrap.
I have one more announcement. I started queuing for WoW Classic before we started here, and I'm only 2 hours out.
That's great.
So I might be done someday. I'm Pete.
I'm Jeremy.
And this is DnDTime Talks.
Good night, everyone.